Hello, it's me, and today we're going to be discussing this handsome little fellow here. This is another 3x3 mod, not the shape mod, but of course a sticker mod. Now this one is interesting. Just when I thought that I'd seen it all in terms of different sticker combinations and modifications, thinking that, well, you've solved one supercube, you've solved them all, comes something like this, which is actually very different and represents kind of a different sort of a challenge. So as you can see, the difference with this one is not that every side has a unique color to it, it actually has a unique pattern to it. And there's an overarching theme here, which is why it's called the maze cube, is that I can trace a line all the way around and you get a consistent line that traverses the entire puzzle. Now what's challenging about this is it's very hard to understand the correlation of each side to each other, because it's hard to follow this along all the way around the puzzle. I mean, it's easy with this guy, even if it were a supercube, is you can consistently see what's supposed to be on what side, but this one you can't do that. As a matter of fact, without memorizing what the pattern is, it makes it very difficult to kind of follow your way through it. So how do we do it? How do I describe how to do it? What if I didn't want to memorize much of anything? What if I didn't want to reference any pictures and I just wanted to be able to sit down and solve this? How am I going to go about doing that? Where do I start? Well, here's what I'm going to try. Here's what my challenge is going to be. I would like to be able to solve this without looking at anything, and I don't have anything around me. I have no pictures to reference where things are supposed to go. Let's see if I can use a little bit of information which can help guide me. If not memorizing the whole thing, then at least that can provide a backdrop around which I can derive the rest of the information. So let's kind of examine what we're dealing with here. What looks like just a jumble of lines once it's scrambled. How do I make this into an ordered pattern? Well, when we start looking at it, the first thing that we're really only going to need to keep in mind and bear in mind four things. The first thing is the centers. We want to be able to orient the centers. Now, if this is scrambled, who knows how they're supposed to be? But I can't look at them in a vacuum, because if I don't have the centers oriented, how am I going to know where things are going to go on the sides, the edges, the corners? That's going to be difficult. So let's familiarize ourselves with what this looks like. One thing that stands out, or the first thing that stands out, is two of our centers look the same. They're both lines. The rest of the centers have these angulated, what I'll call elbows. These are angulated lines like this at right angles. So you've got elbow here, 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 and here. Now, how can I make it known to me where things are supposed to be? Because if I don't orient it right, I'm kind of sunk. Well, starting with this, you know that when I solve puzzles, I generally exalt the front, the top, and the right. The reason is because most of my algorithms are based on those orientations. So I'm going to just remember that the top part is going to be a line, and just to the left is also going to be a line. So top and left are going to be lines. Not too hard to remember. The front part, one of the sides that I exalt, is going to come from the top and lead to the right. Well, I'm going to be able to remember that because the top right, or rather the top front and right, are kind of exalted in terms of how I view them. They take preference with me. So I'll just remember that this takes it from the top and heads to the right, which is what I want to do. What about the bottom? Well, that's going to be easy too, because the bottom is in the same direction as the front. So we've got line, line, front coming from the top and leading to the right, and the bottom is actually going to be in the same direction. Now what the right is going to do is it's going to pick it up from the bottom and lead me to the back. Just like this picked it up from the top, this is going to pick it up from the bottom and lead me to the back. From the back, it'll pick it up from where it just was and go right back to the top where I start all over. So that should be fairly easy to keep in mind and fairly easy to remember. Line, line, my front here from the top, taking it to the right. The bottom, don't worry about it, it's the same direction. At my right, I pick it up from the bottom, lead me to the back. The back, I pick it up from where I came from and then come up to the top. So that should be able to help guide me. So the second bit of information that I'm going to have to remember is the shape of this, or the pattern of this top side here. Now I picked the top because this is the easiest one to remember. I guess this doesn't look too difficult either. It's a little complicated here, but with this we've got this arch here, picks it up from here, comes up, down, and picks it down here, and then comes down here. So it's a shape that's fairly easy to remember. Then you've got this little arch over here. So you've got an arch that comes over here, swings to the right, and comes down. Then you've got this little arch over here, where if you trace this out, it kind of has the same sigma type pattern to it. Same as this. This is like a little version of here. But we need to understand and remember this basic shape because that's going to help guide us regarding edges and corners. The third bit of information that we're going to want to know is we're going to want to know the corners here, or the edges here rather. Well, that's not too hard either because let's take a look at it. We've got the line center here and the line center here. In between that, this corner is going to be two lines. It's the only one with two lines. So two centers with lines. In between that is the only corner, is the only edge rather, with two lines that are parallel to each other. So that's easy enough. What about this? Well, that's why we had to keep in mind the shape over here. Because we're going to remember as we look at these, all of these edge pieces here consist of two elbows. All of them do that. So in order to remember which goes where, because this curves over here, I know that the elbow is going to be facing this way. And because this points up, if this is going to be facing away, this one must be another elbow facing the other way. Now, we're not going to know as we're solving it unless I memorize it now if it's going to go to the left or go to the right, but it's going to come out that way pretty well. But it's going to go to the right, or go to the left rather. But we're going to bear that in mind. What we also notice is as we go from here to here, there's going to be a clockwise rotation of the elbow from here to here, rotates clockwise, then rotates clockwise again to here. So that's not too difficult to remember. Remember the shape, remember that there are going to be two elbows on each one except for this one. These two are not going to be connected with each other. They can't be because this comes up and doesn't join with this at all. And then there's going to be a clockwise rotation to here and to here. From that, I should be able to derive my top. And that's 3 bits of information to start off with. The other things to keep in mind, and I guess the 4th bit of information that's going to be important, well, I don't know if it's even something that you have to memorize, but notice the edges here all follow kind of a similar pattern too, and that's one line and one elbow. So these middle edges, if I define this as my top, we're going to have an elbow, a line, elbow, a line, and I'm going to skip this one for now, elbow and a line. So 3 of the 4 are going to be an elbow and a line. Where it goes, we're just going to have to figure it out. And it's not as difficult as you might think. Now you notice there's one that's 2 elbows. And you might think, well, great, we're going to get it confused because this looks a little like this or like this. And the answer is yes, it does. But it's going to become apparent as you're solving the top layer why this one doesn't fit. It's not really going to fit in any one of these places, so it's always going to be an odd one out. So that's the other bit of information to bear in mind. Elbow and line. This one is just going to be an odd one out anyway, so it'll find a nice home between this elbow and this elbow. 2 elbowed centers. Regarding the last layer, and this is the last bit of information, once you get the first layer and the second layer, with this last layer, the only thing that you have to bear in mind, because it's going to be very apparent where some of these are going to have to be in terms of where they bind onto, where they attach to, is if this is the top here, if I hold it over here, these 2 edges here, you're going to notice, well, there's 2 elbows here. Might I get this confused with, say, this one? And the answer is, it seems like you might, but you're actually going to find that when if you try to put this in up here, it's not going to fit with the shape. That's why the shape is important. It'll always guide you to know that this is the wrong one to come up here, and this is the wrong one to come up here. But let's take a look at what's going to be perhaps the most challenging of layers. The thing to keep in mind is this is going to belong down here. This, although it's 2 elbows, it has a unique look to it. It's joined like this. So it's going to be pretty apparent that this doesn't belong up here or across here. This has a very specific look. This has a specific shape, 2 lines. This is also a line and an elbow, which you are going to find over here too. But again, as you're making it makes sense, you're going to find that this one fits but this one doesn't. Again, this is part of the figuring out process. There's a little bit of memorization you're going to have to do, but I want to minimize that because I want to enhance the challenge and not make it totally impossible. But the last thing to bear in mind is if I'm holding the bottom layer like this, see these elbows here? They're going to be facing the same way. And it's going to make this sort of, well, you can see kind of an M pattern here, but it's going to be facing the same way over here. This here and this here. If you find that it's not doing that, there's something very wrong. So with those bits of information, let's see, without any assistance, if we can guide our way through this puzzle. There's also a particular placement issue that's going to happen with this puzzle, and it's a big pain in the neck when it happens. But the good news is, if you find it happening, we can easily get through it. Well, it means you have to kind of re-solve it, but at least you'll know what you got to do. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and scramble this and see if we can navigate our way through it. Let's go ahead and see if we can't work this out, work our way through this. So I'm going to start off with the line on the top. Move this to the side, and here's the other line over here. And this is going to be parallel to this over here. So line and line. Let's orient our centers the way that we learned how to do that. So here's the center over here. We know this comes down from the top and to the right, which is what it's doing. The bottom follows the same pattern over here. To the right over here, this comes from the bottom and leads to the back side. So let's see if we can't line it up right over here. Bottom to the back, and then from the back that goes up from the bottom, and then actually this goes from the left side where it came from and then leads up. So this is a fully oriented center. Our centers are now oriented. Now the way that I do the puzzles is this bottom is going to be free to move around. You have to have some wild card that can move around. But I'm going to have to make sure that I maintain the relative positions of these centers as much as I can. And from time to time I may have to check my work and see what I'm doing. So now the next step is bearing in mind the shape that this is going to be. I'm going to put in my cross. So let's think about what we're going to do here. All right, so now what we're going to do is, bearing in mind and keeping in mind the known shape that we're going to look for, we're going to use that knowledge and put in our cross. So what goes here? Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our two lines in, right? So we've got to find that. It's not this one, it's got to be the one that's parallel, and that's right over here. So I can just turn this in. I need to make sure that this is parallel here, so the way that I'm going to do that is move it down, turn this, move it here, turn it in. This is typical supercube strategy where I have to line it up with this and then turn it up. So far so good. We're one however many of the way done. So now we just have two elbows to deal with. Obviously this is the wrong one over here. And as I recall, this elbow has to take this shape where it comes here, here, up across here and here, and not be attached to this. So here's a couple of two elbows. I'm thinking that it's going to be two elbows that are not attached. So it's not going to be something like this, maybe something like this. So if I were to do a bunch of experimentation with this, to bring this to here and not change the conformation of the center, I move this twice, move this in here, and move this twice. Do we like this? Well, we like the fact that this joins here and shoots to the left. We don't like this because I know the shape of this is wrong, because it's shooting to the left over here too, and I know the shape of this is supposed to go like that. So, thank you. All right, brain food. All right, it's raining Tootsie Rolls. So obviously this is not the right one. What else is going to fall from the sky? I've heard of cloudy with a chance of meatballs, but that's ridiculous. So let's see if we can find something else that might work better. Again, this is trial and error here. What about this? I like the fact that they're separated here, so let's move it down, across, move it up. I'm trying to maintain the position here. So let's see if we can move this in. So we'll move this out of the way, double turn this here, so I can now move this in here, and double turn it. Whoops. Here. Do we like this? Well, I like the fact that this is shooting this way. This is shooting that way, so I think we got it. I think this is pretty good over there. So the next step is, let's do this one over here. Now I know that there's going to be a clockwise rotation of my elbow over here, and I also know that based on the shape, this is going to come across like this. So let's find one that'll do that. Now notice it can't be connected to this either. which means that it's probably going to have to be bending in one way or the other, this way. So it's going to be joined, it's going to be attached. So I'm looking for the attached elbow. Again, I don't really have this memorized. Here's an attached elbow here. So let's move it in. Double turn, move it into place, double turn. Do we like it? Yeah, we like it, because it's shooting off this way. Remember what the shape is going to look like, then you have this over here. And by reasoning, I think we can shoot it this way. Now, let's say I wanted to use another one just by example. Where's another one that looks like this? Yeah, this one over here. Let's say I wanted to try this one. So let's say I wanted to move this one in because it looks kind of similar. So 1, 2, turn, 1, 2. Very apparent that this is the wrong shape because it's supposed to come this way, not be attached here. So that's how you know that this belongs somewhere else. 1, 2. Turn, 1, 2. So basically we like this. So now let's do this side here. Once again, 2 elbows. We also can see the clockwise rotation from here to here. This one is going to be bent to here, much like this is. It's going to be in this position. But now this is going to complete this hump over here. So we have this bending here and this bending here. So they're going to be actually facing the same way, bending the same way. So now I know what it looks like. Let's see if I can find it. If I'm moving too fast, slow this down. Anyway, 2 that are bending the same way, facing the top here. This one, maybe. Once I've moved it out here, let's experiment with it. 1, 2, bring it in, 1, 2. Do we like it? Nope, it's bending the wrong way. This is supposed to come across like this. I think we should probably investigate this one here. Turn, turn, turn. Again, I can move this bottom layer any way I want. Now let's see how well this fits up here. Turn it away, turn it in, up, and back. Nope, facing the wrong way. So I may have to go back to the drawing board a little bit. Okay, I have an idea. I think it is this one, but here's my mistake. I turn it, move it here, and turn it up. And I didn't like the fact that this is turning the wrong way. But maybe this has to be flipped upside down, right? So let's take this out again. So in other words, this shouldn't face the top, this should. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move this to the side here. And now what I want to do is I actually want it to coordinate it to where this isn't the one facing up, this one is going to face up. So to do that, this is going to have to be connected to this over here, this part over here, right up to here. So I'm going to turn this down, move this up to join it, then turn it up, and I'll quickly turn this back down. Do we like it? Yeah. So this is right, this we're going to say is right, this is right. We even like the fact that this has a clockwise rotation and this is right. So believe it or not, that's how I get my cross. I got my cross here. The corners are really just a matter of finishing up the shape that I know that we already have. Now let's see if we can reason our way through what the shape is, just by what we know. This is supposed to come across like this and then down. So I'm looking for an elbow facing down. What would this look like? Pay no attention to this. But if this is an elbow facing down, is this going to be another elbow, or is this going to be facing all the way down here? Well, it's possible this could be just a line down. Over here, as we recall, this comes down here, here, and down here. This plunges down. So my suspicion is we have an elbow here, and either another elbow here. Well, no, then this would be facing straight down as well. So I think what I'm looking for is I'm looking for a line and 2 elbows. Let's see if we find that. Line and 2. Well, here's a line and 2 elbows. Now again, these are just theories. Let's see if it works. I'm just going to arbitrarily put it in and see what it looks like. All right, I like this shape here, and I like the fact that this is connected to here, and this will just shoot straight down. Again, ignore this. So we're going to say that this is correct, that this is right. Now, it didn't have to look like this. We could have tried something else that might have seemed to fit just fine. Because I don't remember the exact shape. I don't remember if this plunges down here or not. But this just looks like, by reasoning, how it should have functioned. I mean, we could have maybe tried something like this. Let's say I wanted to put this one in. like this, where this comes down here, this is across here, although we can tell that this really doesn't belong here. So 2 elbows on a line. What about over here? Well, this is going to have to complete this circuit here. So I'm looking for an elbow here, and then it's going to make that sort of sigma pattern. So elbow, elbow. What about here? Well, obviously it's not going to be a line because it can't attach here, so it's going to be another elbow. So what we have are 3 elbows, and these elbows are going to be attached to each other. So I'm looking for a corner with 3 elbows that are attached to each other. It makes a continuous elbow line like this. Elbow, elbow, elbow. Let's roll it into here and see what happens. Well, it's not quite oriented right, perhaps. Okay, this looks pretty good. Look at this. Up, down, around, and down here, and it doesn't touch this at all. Again, ignore this. This is an edge we've not even worked on. So we can see our shape taking shape. So what about this one over here? Well, this is supposed to come down and here, so this is an elbow over here. If this is an elbow over here, this seems to come out of nowhere, so this is going to come over here, and it has to join with this. So elbow coming down here. Now what's this one going to do? It's not going to go straight down because this will bump into it. It has to attach to here. So elbow, continuous with an elbow over here. And what's this one going to do? Well, this one has to attach here, and the only thing that it's going to do is it can't go up, it can't go across, it must go down. So what I'm going to look for is one where you have 2 elbows that are attached like this, kind of forming like a U shape, and then another elbow that's doing its own thing. Oh, right here. I see 2 elbows that form like an N pattern and this doing its own thing. So it may be here. Turn, turn, turn. Okay, now let's roll this into here and see what that looks like. Turn, 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 turn. And do we like it? Yeah, we like it because it comes down here and joins with this. And this is doing its own thing with this guy. Again, ignore that. So you see our shape taking shape here. Now what about this? Well, what I'm looking for is something that is an elbow over here, unrelated to what's going on here. I like the fact that this will be a line in this direction over here. What's it going to do over here? Well, it's going to have to join with this, otherwise this edge has nowhere to go. So what I'm looking for here is a elbow doing its own thing, and basically 2 lines. So 2 lines and an elbow, and the 2 lines will be joined on a corner. How about this? 2 lines and an elbow. Wonderful. Let's see. Turn, turn. Oh, not there yet. Okay. Here, joined and joined. So we managed to get our shape back. So as you can see, here's our shape here, here's our shape here. There is some internal consistency with this because you can see this forms a consistent pattern all the way across. There's a sigma shape, dives down here. We don't know what's going to happen here yet, and here as well. But even though there's internal consistency with the shape, is there external consistency in regards to the rest of the puzzle? Because now that we've got the first layer, and we're pretty confident that that's the first layer, we'll check our work with the centers here. This doesn't matter quite yet. Now we go to the second layer, the edges. So we'll turn it upside down. The way that I'm going to guide myself through this is let's look up here to the ones where we know belong down here, which is going to be the elbow and the line. Well, here's an elbow and a line, but I know that one of them belongs up here. So I'm not sure if this goes here or not. In other words, this and this look like they may be equivalent. But this obviously doesn't belong over here. How about this? Well, this might belong, and the reason why I say that is that when this flips down here, this will be joined with this, and this, well, no, it doesn't because it'll clunk into here and not have any place to go. So what I'm going to do is this. Let me just take one of these and bring it up here so that at least I can start the process of putting it where it's supposed to be. So what I'm going to do is this will flip here and this will flip up down up over here. So that's that classic Rubik's Cube algorithm to take this to here and this will come up here. Okay. So it's over here. So now we can investigate. We can see different places where this can have some consistency. Both of these are going to be attaching to areas that kind of come up on us. And that's not going to be here. Is it over here? Yeah, possibly over here. So take a look at this. This will come down to here and join with this. This line will come down to here and join with this. We don't like that because then this is sort of left on its own. So forget about that. So that doesn't belong over here. What about here? Nope, this will come down here and do just fine, but this will slice down here and have no place to go. How about this? Well, this line will come down to here and join very nicely with this. This will come down here and not have any relationship to this at all, but this will join to here. So this looks like it belongs down here. And that algorithm to put this to here is, of course, from the left side, the UI, LI, U, L, U, F, UI, FI. So we like that. Consistent here, and doesn't cause any problems there. So let's keep going. Once again, what I'm going to do is, for the sake of simplicity, I could see if this belongs somewhere, but let me take this one out, because I know this doesn't belong here, but it does belong in the middle layer. Okay, I'm assuming knowledge of how to solve a Rubik's Cube. If not, put this down and learn to solve this, or message me and ask for help. Anyway, so where might this go? Well, what if this comes down here? This will bind over here, but gets stuck in a dead end over here. How about here? This will come down here and do just fine, not cause any problems with this. This will come here and join these two. So that looks pretty good, this coming down here, this elbow turning here and joining these two. So this was made to be here. Do we like it? Yeah, real good. All right, so now where else? Okay, so I know these two belong over here. Let's take a look at this. Now the homologous one on the middle side is actually in, but probably in wrong, and that's this guy over here. Because this is like a dead end. What about this? What if I were to put this one in? Well, if I put this one in here, nope, still a dead end. So none of these belong over here, so who knows? How about here? Nope, doesn't seem to make sense. Well, actually, maybe this will come here and bond to here, and then this will come here and end up with the dead end over here. So we can't find a good place for this one. So my suspicion is that this belongs up here, and this belongs down here, but it's just in the wrong place. So we'll take this one out. All right, now let's see where this one might belong. Okay, here's what I like about this. If I were to move this over here, this will form a continuous line with this one to here, and then it will bend upwards, not bumping into this. Which means I think we found the perfect home for this guy here. So it'll bind here and just shoot up. So, move it in. And bingo, we like it. All right, so what do we have left? I see two lines here which seems to make sense here, but not at all here. So this does not belong here. Maybe this does. Well, I'm liking what I'm seeing here because I see two elbows that don't really want anything to do with each other unless it's a continuous line, which I know doesn't go there. So if I move this down, this elbow will actually join these two, right, because it'll come down to here, and this elbow will join this and shoot up to who knows where. So I think we've found the place where this is supposed to go. And we like it, and we like it. Okay, so consistent. So now I think we're finished with our middle layer. So now the final one, what is becoming our top layer. So what I'm going to do is orient myself first here, and then take us down. This is oriented like this. Let's put this in the proper position. Now let's see where we're at. What's right side up and what's upside down, and how do I tell? Well, the way that I tell is I see that the way this is positioned, this comes off and has to join with a line of some sorts, as do this. Now this one can join with this very nicely. So this looks like it's where it needs to be. This one needs a line that comes down but bends because it doesn't join with this. Does that make sense? In other words, these two are actually joined together, so this is the right one. This one has a line across it, but it doesn't join with this. So this one is the other one with a line, so this is the only one that's going to bind over here. Because there's nothing else really that's going to get oriented like that. So this is upside down, because this has to bind to here, and then this comes off in its own direction. So I know this is upside down. Now here's something else to notice. There's equivalency with this, because upside down, right side up has no meaning for this piece. This piece has a meaning whether it's upside down or right side up. Same thing with this. If I turn this upside down or rotate it, it's going to be facing an opposite way. What about this one? Well, there's equivalency with this one too, because if I rotate this, it's going to be looking exactly the same. Rotate this, this will come up and look just like this will come down and look just like that, which means there are two pieces that are equivalent upside down or right side up. That's going to work to our advantage. So all I have to decide is which one of these are upside down. Well, this one is certainly upside down. What about this one? Well, remember when I said that these two edges have to be facing the same way, like this, kind of forming an M type situation like that. Well, when I notice this, if I put this here, this has that M situation. It has no choice. It can't come over here because this won't make that M situation here. It'll go up and here. It'll come across and up. This is supposed to come across and down. It'll only do that here. Even if I turn this upside down, it'll still be in the same direction. So this must come here, which means this one must come here, and you can see it's going the opposite way. It's going the wrong way. So because of that, this must be upside down. So let's orient this correctly again. Okay, so just by orienting this, now I know that this is upside down and this is upside down, which means we have an L here. This is our L. So I'm going to do that algorithm that goes from L to a line to rotating them all up. F, R, U, R, I, U, I, F, I, F, R, U, R, I, U, I, F, I. The first time I have the faith that that would be a line, the second time not so. So did it work? Well, this is right side up. You see this, if I move this here, M, and here, M. So we have this here and this here. So now we know that they're all right side up. Beautiful. So where do we go from here? Well, now I need to orient these. I need to rotate these correctly. The easiest ones to do are going to be the ones that attach here, which are going to be these lines. One line goes all the way across, which means it connects here to here. The other line stops short here, which means it goes from here to here. So if I hold this like this and do the algorithm that rotates these around, this will eventually end up here. So while this stays the same. This is just like the algorithm here if I wanted to rotate these around. R, U, R, I, U, R, to U, R, I. And there it is. That looks good. Now that I have this in, the way that this puzzle will always work is you're always going to have 1 in and 3 out. It's always going to be that way. There will be no parity to this 3x3, no parity problems, despite what we're about to run into. Anyway, this is over here, this is attached here. Hold it here, and these should all permute around. I'm just going to do that until this is over here. R, U, R, I, U, R, to U, R, I. Not yet. R, U, R, I, U, R, to U, R, I, and great. There it is. So now let's orient ourselves. Turn this over here. Okay, this is here, and uh-oh. We have something of a problem, don't we? This is supposed to be here, coming from the left and down, and this is supposed to be here, coming from the left and down. You know, it's supposed to have that M formation. So these two need to be swapped. We need to flip-flop these two, because this is right, but if only we can flop these, I know that it's oriented right, to the left and down, to the left and down. We just have to flip-flop these. However, can you guys guess the problem with this? Here's the problem. If you remember in my Parity tutorial, to those who watched it, I went through the laws of cubes. Certain impossible configurations that you can't have because that breaks the parity of the puzzle, which is the number of permutations that are allowed to get to a known solved state. And what you cannot do is you cannot swap an odd number of pieces. You must swap an even number of pieces. For me to swap this, it's one swap and it's an odd number of pieces, which is impossible. You cannot get that. That would be the equivalent of, in this cube, having just these two out, but these two in. You will not get this. So this appears to be a parity situation. But I've always said that in a 3x3, you will not get a parity situation. This can't be parity. So what happened? Well, here's the thing. What I'd like you to do is stop tape now and figure it out. And see if you can anticipate what I'm about to say.